Hello guys, I am back from another video, and today we're talking about what if Belle had, or at least was from Terraria, or last, or had Terraria type-ish powers. Anyway, so in the last video we talked about how after, the whole like thing about, Belle basically, getting some sleep thing, or at least partially a little bit, he would basically, start going on their little date. Not really technically a date, it's more like a, I guess you could say a day out or something. So, he would start to go towards the Monsterphilia with Hestia. After arriving there, they would basically get some food and would see the large, Colosseum and would arrive there. They would basically see some of the battles happening there and would be amazing to him. Seeing all of these adventures, kind of, being entertainers, basically taking down several monsters, which they somehow gotten and put in the cages. After basically, watching all of this, they would basically start to leave, but Belle would overhear about somebody talking about how, a monster, basically escaping not escaping a dungeon, more like escaping one of the cages. And coincidentally, the monster would arrive, and it would basically resemble some sort of white ape with a helmet and a large sword. Or was it an axe? Anyway, it would basically start to charge towards, Belle, as Belle would basically summon in Sarah, aka his, little pet harpy, to basically bring, Hestia back home. Before, the actual, monster would basically, go and rip him apart. And also Hestia. So, after bringing him back towards, home, and also Belle being alone with the monster, Belle would basically start to fight it. After a while fighting it, Belle would basically launch it like a goddamn, baseball, causing it to basically, fly all the way back towards the, to the Ganesha Familia's, headquarters, or should I say, the Colosseum, where the Monsterphilia basically happened. And when the monster basically, drops down there, Ganesha would basically tell all of his, familiar members to basically capture it. After capturing it, they would basically, basically like put it in a cage or whatever. Belle would be celebrated by the civilians as a great hero for basically saving them from this, terrifying monster. And after doing that, they would basically start to leave as Belle would arrive back, home, and so would fall asleep. The next day has come as Belle would have to have a date with, not Hestia, I meant Hephaestus. So, after arriving at the Hephaestus Familia, headquarters, he would see, Hephaestus with an unusual, almost girly dress, which was pretty unexpected to him. He thought that he was about to, see, Hephaestus just, wear some, her typical clothing. But after seeing her wear that, Belle would basically, start to blush a little bit. They would basically go on their little date, basically, going around town and even, eating some ice cream together. They would stop at a little area and would start to, have a bit of a, a makeout session. Meanwhile, some of the members of the not Loki Familia, I meant the, Hephaestus Familia that were basically following them would basically start to cheer on Hephaestus and also, Belle. So yeah, after the makeout session was over, Belle would basically bring her back towards, her, her Familia, and so Belle would leave, leaving her to basically just be happy, but also pretty embarrassed. So yeah. So, after arriving back home, he would basically go on to bed, and so would fall asleep. So yeah, that is basically what happened last episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, after Belle basically does that, he would decide to go into the dungeon to basically check on his, little biome project. So, Belle would basically say goodbye to, Hestia, so he can finally go into the dungeon. After arriving at the guild and basically saying that he's going to go into the dungeon for getting some monster cores, but in actuality, he's just going to check on his, little biome project, or his artificial biome project. And after arriving at where he was supposed to see where, his little biomes were basically, start spreading, he would see that the jungle is actually growing a lot. he would see several, areas basically, filled with lush, flora, and even seeing a certain, were like the worst mobs imaginable. Spiked jungle slimes, bats, jungle bats, and God, I hate them. The turtles. Tell me why. Tell me whoever likes the turtles. Why the fuck do you like them? They're just annoying. Like, seriously. I mean, every single mob in the jungle is annoying, but still. So, yeah. When Belle saw this, Belle would just say, "Yep, I'm guessing it's pretty good," as he would get slammed right in the face by the turtle, as Belle would basically be flinged all the way towards the corruption area. But he would start to fall into a little like hole that, all corruption biomes have, as Belle would basically plunge, wait for a second. He would basically plunge two vampire knives into the, little wall that's basically right next to him, and would start to climb out of it, saying, "I should have gotten a grappling hook. What the hell? Goddamn turtles." He would basically start to breathe heavily, and so would basically get out of there. After seeing the corruption basically spreading, he would see a few, mobs from that biome, including those flying things. I can't remember the actual mob's name, and he would see the, smaller versions of the, Eater of Worlds. After Belle saw that, he would start to go towards the hollow area. Seeing that the hollow's pretty much good, and for some odd reason, some of the pixies that were actually meant to be, hostile mobs seem to be more docile, and in fact, seem to be not be attacking. Belle would just think probably some sort of side effect or something. And after seeing that, he would basically start, start to farm, obviously. Even though he can technically, get some items from, his Gate of Babylon style, his Gate of Babylon style, thing, or, portal. After a while of farming some things, like, for example, some some rotten meat, and for another example, unicorn horns and pixie dust, he would basically arrive back, towards the, guild, and would basically present some of the items, including some, monster cores, which somehow have been, inside some of the, mobs from, Terraria, or the ones that from the ones from the dungeon, or the ones that basically came into the dungeon. You basically get it. And when they saw these weird looking items, they would think, "Damn, they look pretty good." As for the, as Aina would say this, "So you found them? And you saw these weird monsters?" As he would basically start to explain, saying that he found a weird looking horse with a horn, a white light with wings, things of that sort, as she would say this. "Well, that certainly sounds concerning. Maybe we should talk to, the higher ups." As Belle would basically agree, even though he knows the actual, truth about it. So, after, doing that, Belle would basically start, go home, after getting some of the, Valis that he has. So, after doing that, he would basically go home. So, after that, we go back to Belle, basically, just, laying around, basically doing nothing. He's still the only member of the, Hestia familia, which was pretty disappointing to him. As Belle is basically, just like, all alone, by himself, with Hestia there. I mean, Hestia's still there, but he doesn't think that, they're sort of friends, but they're more like, a boss and, employee type situation instead to him, or at least in his mind. So, wait for a second. I mean, there's sort of, like employees and, like boss type relationship, but either way, Belle would basically just be there, just like all alone, and would realize that he's still, the only one, or at least the only member of the Hestia familia, as you would think, maybe I should bring in some new members, he would start to think. But Belle would basically decide, I'm gonna go into the dungeon. After saying this to Hestia, Hestia would basically agree, and Belle would be let go to the dungeon. Belle would basically start going into the dungeon and would go a different route instead of his, the little artificial biomes he created, route. After arriving at that, route, he would see a few, ant nests. As when Bell saw them, Bell would think, huh, this is gonna be easy. As he would grab his zenith and would start to slice through them. So, after getting several monster cores, he would see a familiar looking girl. In this case, Lily. As Lily would say this, "Wait, are you Mr. Bell?" As Bell would say this, "Oh, hello there, I never really gotten your name, so, as she would say this, Lily Arde." As Belle would say this, "Oh, right, Miss Arde, are you okay?" As she would say this, "No, I just sort of broke my leg." As Belle would just see her leg basically a little bit twisted. As Belle would say this, "Don't worry, I got this." As Belle would basically tell her to, be careful because he's going to twist her leg into place. After, twisting her leg into place again, into its more normal position, she would basically, pant and start to, saying that it hurts. As Belle would say this, "Now drink this." As Belle would basically grab from his Gate of Babylon style, portal, as he would grab a greater healing potion. After grabbing it, she would basically start to drink as her bone would start to heal, more specifically the bone on her leg. As she would say, "Whoa, it feels much better, and I feel..." As Belle would say this, "Good, now, I think it's better for you to go outside, okay?" As when Belle is about to carry her, one person would basically arrive there and say, "Well, well, well, it seems that we have the number one, adventurer right here. The so-called white-haired demon, Belle Cornell." As when Belle looks behind him, he would see a few thugs, and one of them seems to be more prominent. He seems to be wearing, some simple, thug clothing, and he seems to have a mohawk and a really big nose. Just imagine, the nose of, Gabiru from that time I got reincarnated as a slime. The one that's basically, the one that's basically a goblin. The one that, instead of evolving, it's just when he evolves, it's just the same, just him. It's just basically that. But, just imagine his nose like that. Just that weird ass nose. Just imagine him just like that. As when Belle saw this, he would say, "Great thugs." As he would say this, "Hey, let the girl die already. Besides, she's already weak. And, by the way, maybe we should just steal your stuff then. I mean, you're powerful, and you seem to have great weapons. Why not steal them from you?" As when Belle hears this, he would say, "Well then. After hearing that, guess I'll just have to report this to the guild." After hearing this, he would say, "Huh, you're just gonna die here. Nobody's gonna survive from us. I mean, seriously, we're stronger than you." As Belle would say this, "Yeesh, arrogance." As Belle would say, "Are you sure about that?" As Belle would say this, as one of them would say this, "Don't be so cocky." As one of them would basically charge towards him, as he would say this, "Very well then." As Belle would basically grab his, SDMG, as he would start to fire it at, one of the, assailants coming towards him. As he would start to get shot from the legs, as he would scream out, "Ah, it hurts!" As he would basically feel the pain. And the bullets that he used were, what they were called, god dang it. The one that's basically like a heat-seeking missile, basically. So, after getting shot by this, he would say, "Ah, it hurts! What the hell are you? And what the hell is that weapon?" As he would say this, "Well, it's a little weapon which I prefer to call the SDMG. And by the way, maybe next time try not to be so annoying." As he would basically, kick him right in the face, as he would look towards the others. As he would say this, "Who's next?" He would basically say with a cocky tone, as one of them would say, "Why you?" As he would basically start to charge towards Belle. As Belle would basically bring up the Terra Prisma, as he would start to create the, multiple sword things. Which, they would basically charge towards, the guy, and let's just say he has, a new hole right now, which, oh boy. as the swords would basically start slashing through him as he would scream out in pain saying, "The hell are those swords? It hurts!" As he would basically fall to the ground as Bell would not kill him. You would just be knocked out due to blood loss. As you would look towards the last one, specifically the leader, as you would say this, as you would basically start, charge over there, as you would start to coat his hands in some sort of ethereal energy, as you would scream out, "Take this!" As Bell would basically be punched right in the face. And when he got punched in the face, he would scream out, "What? I thought my punch would kill you!" As you'd say this. That's the point. It doesn't. As Bell would basically start to show off his armor, which, when Lily and the, leader would just look at him, as one of them would say this, specifically Lily. "Oh my god." As the guy would say this, "What the hell?" As Bell would say this, "Now." As you would grab him by the face, as he would say this, "Now tell me, why did you hurt this girl?" As he would say this, "She's nothing more than bait, a worthless brat." As Bell would say this, "I had enough." As Bell would basically, grab two vampire knives and would start, slicing through him. As you would basically start to, cry out in pain as you would be knocked down. Bell's energy would start being replenished after, getting those, stabs in, as he would say this, "Now, Miss Lily." As she would say this, yeah? "Are you a part of Familia? Or at least any Familia, perhaps?" As she would say this, "No." Wait for a second. After basically knocking him down, he would basically look back at Lily as he would say this, "Hey, Lily." As she would say this, "Yes, Mr. Bell?" As he would say this, "Are you a part of Familia yet? Or at least a part of a Familia yet?" Or, as she would say this, "No, not at all." I mean, they were a part of Familia. But they just used me. And even told me that even their god would not accept a loser like me. A weakling." As Belle would basically carry her bridal style, as he would say this, "How would you join my Familia? I mean, I'm currently the only member, and even though it's not really hard, I do want somebody to keep me company. Okay?" He would basically smile as she would say this. Thank you. I'm really happy." As she would basically start to, cry a little bit, as she would say this, "Thank you, Mr. Bell. I will gladly serve you as your adventurer and your friend." As Bell would say this, "You don't really need to say things like that. Besides, I would gladly let you join my party either way." He would basically say, as he would basically wipe away her tears, as she would say this, "Thank you." After doing that, Belle would start to bring her towards, the entrance, and would also bring in the scumbags right there. So, after bringing them towards, the guild and basically explaining what happens, let's just say a few people were basically disgusted after, overhearing their conversation, because seeing Belle basically carrying two guys there was pretty noticeable. Some members of other familias would basically hear about this as they would think, "Jesus Christ, I didn't know that Familia was going to be that of a shithole." And, currently with, Aphisis Familia, they would basically overhear this as they would basically report it to, Aphisis herself, which Aphisis was pretty much, thinking that Bell is probably the perfect man imaginable. I mean, he's pretty smart, and even kind, and selfless, and also, let's just say loaded. So, yeah. So, after Belle basically takes her in, Belle would basically bring her to, his Familia, aka, the Hestia Familia. So, after bringing her in, well, Hestia was a bit, worried about her. As she would, after basically explaining her whole situation. After checking her out, she would basically say that she wants to join her Familia. She would gladly accept because, thinking that Belle is pretty much overworked. Even though it was pretty much a breeze most of the time. So, after, doing the whole ritual thing, she would basically gain a new member. In this case, Lily. So, after doing that, Lily would be a part of the, Hestia Familia for life now. And so, after doing that, Hestia would basically bring her in and would start a, little feast. Belle would basically bring in, a few food items, mostly, This time, let's just say both of them were just like, where the hell did you get this? Which, Belle would basically make a golden, what is that called? A golden, it's basically like a, the recipe is mostly made off of, all of the golden animals, like the golden ones, basically. So I think it was called, let me just check. You'll basically get a golden delight. Yeah, that's actually the name. And when they saw that, their eyes are bulging, as one of them would say this. Are you sure it's edible? Because it definitely looks like it's made out of gold, as you would say this. Yeah, I'm sure. As you would grab one of the, legs, as you would start chowing down, seeing that it's basically melting off the bone. After trying out, let's just say their eyes were basically bulging like, like a cartoon character, basically. As Belle would basically brings in some fruit juice and also some other items, like, for example, some normal ass, like, cooked fish and things of that sort. After eating, they would basically be full. And so, Belle would basically, tell Lily that she can sleep anywhere. I mean, there's literally, like, several chairs, or, chairs that were meant to be used for the church or something of that sort. So, she would decide to sleep right next to, to Belle, which Belle was not really comfortable, and even explained that he sort of has a girlfriend, which she was surprised, and also pretty happy for him. And so, after doing that, Belle would basically, put her right next to, or at least, like, combining two, like, chairs there, or the, whatever you want to call them, and would basically put them, together, and Belle would basically make a makeshift bed. After doing that, she would basically fall asleep on it. As for Belle, Belle would also sleep on it as well. And as for, Hestia, she would basically go to her little room, and so would fall asleep in the actual bed, or at least the only bed currently that's there. So, yeah. So, that is going to be the end of this episode, because, I'm gonna be making this short because, school shit, yeah, pretty depressed. So, yeah, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!